This week I have a question for you. Is the housing market gonna crash?
I don't even get that. What?
Hello everybody, my name is Barry Horvath and this is Moving Forward TV with your local market update.
And I am DeLynn Gaston. Thank you so much for joining us today. So one of the biggest questions that we're getting is the housing market going to crash? But first, look at how professional we look. Look at us with our laptops. Just have to point out.
We almost look like we know what we're doing.
Right, you know?
We're doing our research, our due diligence. So what a great question, because you know what? It's crazy out there. I mean,
I tell you what, it's nuts.
You know what? It's so funny. I was at a board meeting last night, and somebody on the HOA and somebody in the community stood up and goes, "Hey, I saw a house went up on the market, and it sold like in a day. Is that normal in this neighborhood?" And I'm like, and we all looked at him like, "Have you been under our rock?"
Right? That's what I'm thinking too. Where's he been?
Like, you know, I mean, we have a super nice community, but it's not just our community. It's everywhere. It is all over the country.
I was just going to say that it's a nationwide issue right now.
If you have not witnessed multiple offers, buyers lined up on an open house, if you live down the street from an open house, you probably had a traffic jam when the open house was going on. That is just what's going on out there. And, you know, of course, people are like, "Oh, this can't continue. This can't continue." Well, you know what?
Can it?
You know, and it's so funny, and I don't want to talk about the media yet. We have some great insight and clips we want to share with everybody this week. But, you know, there's so many myths out there on what's going to go on and what direction is this housing market going to, what is it doing? What's it doing? And why is it doing it? So, you know, we decided this week that we wanted to bring in some outside expert opinions on what's going on, because we know we're experts in the mortgage industry.
Because we have been doing some research as well. You know, everyone, it's the biggest question out there. Oh my gosh, you know, a lot of people are in fear, those who lived through the mid-2000s and the crash of the real estate world in like 2008 to 2010, thereabouts. Those who lived through it are really fearful right now, us being one of them. You know, we're not sure. So we're doing a lot of research ourselves. And we have a lot of resources to go to when it comes to people who are watching the markets a lot closer than any of us, and watching the markets on a national level. Like
Barry Habib. Forgot that was my cue. We rehearse that too. We should never rehearse those things.
I know.
So Barry Habib is an American entrepreneur. If you're in the mortgage industry at all, he is the guru. He's been on CNN. He's an economist. He's a predictor. He predicts the market on what rates are doing. And you know what? He's right a lot when so many people are wrong. So we trust him. I've been following this guy for a very long time.
Years and years and years and years. Yes. And he started a company, and it's something that we subscribe to. It's for mortgage professionals, and you have to subscribe to it. And this guy, and one of the things, you know, we found an interview that he had done with one of the news stations, and quite frankly, it's very long, and we're not going to do all of it. We're just going to show you some clips from it, having to do with the housing market. But one of the things that I have to say that they were pointing out, the news people were pointing out, was that they had him on their program 2 years ago, in April of 2019. And his predictions that he was saying back then were different from what a lot of other predictions that were going on at that time. And his were dead on. absolutely, positively dead on. Everybody was saying, oh, the rates are going to go up. Rates are going to go up. Do you remember that in 2019?
Yep.
Oh, by the end of 2019, the interest rates were going to be over 5. I remember seeing those predictions and things. And Barry was
like,
sitting there saying, no, they're not. No, they're not.
Nope.
and come to find out, he was dead on. So we definitely trust this guy. And we were lucky enough to actually have him, our company had him as our speaker at one of our sales conferences, and the man is just amazing.
Oh, it's great. He's
amazing.
Great to listen to. Pay attention what he tells you. You know, my favorite part about him is his name. He's the only. I'm just saying, he's Barry H.
You're such a weirdo.
I am a weirdo. Sorry, it's just saying my Barry H. You know, it's so funny. So we
and
get
he's Barry H. You guys have the same initials. Oh my gosh.
BH. I'm going to call him and ask him what his last name is. But you know, it's funny too, because we get the update calls from him. You know, almost
all
daily
the time.
on
Right.
rate alert and what the market's doing, and. When he calls, it's always like a recorded voice. It's like, hey, Barry. He's like, hey, Barry, Habib here. You know, it just says, hey, it's Barry Habib here. And I always think he's calling me, you know. Hey, Barry. I'm like, and I'm like, no, he's not calling you, stupid. He's calling everyone and saying his name, and it just gets my attention every time.
And that's one of the things that we subscribe to as well. You know, those of you who do business with me, you know that I always, and I say to people all the time, I have 2 screens on my wall, and one of them always has the market. It always has this guy up on there, so I am constantly in tune with what's going on in the market.
You love that.
I love that. It was my birthday present several years ago from him. I kept on bugging him. Can we subscribe to this? Can we subscribe to this?
Every year.
So it's my birthday present. He pays for that service.
Let's talk about it. I mean, is there, you know, right now, is there any hope for housing? And let's bring Barry on now and see, you know, let's watch
his take on what's going on and is there any hope for housing? That's and he's coming off talking about interest rates. So again, we're picking up in the middle of this interview, so you can see it.
Hope for housing, like for people to buy a house, it just seems impossible right now.
So let's talk about housing. So housing, if you can get in the game, and I know it's not easy, okay? You know, before you'd give a realtor a lead for a buyer, they'd be like, great, now it's like, oh, what am I going to do with this? So it's not easy. And certain parts of the country are more difficult, but that doesn't mean the housing market is not a great investment. Be careful. You know, we have a tool in MBS Highway that helps you evaluate how much to bid over ask and how long it will take to recover that, so that you can more, in a more educated manner, make these important decisions. Because right now, a little over 40% of transactions are bid over asking price. That's a lot.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we're evaluating this correctly. So there's also a lot of discouraged buyers because they look for a home they can't find. So what you have to do is show them what the opportunity is. So keep people in the game, help them make better decisions. And the housing market's going to remain really hot. Look, you know, I always have talked about demographics. It's interesting to see now others have finally discovered it. I've talked about it for years, right? So you know what I'm talking about. So when we talk about birth rates from 33 years ago, which is the median age of a first-time home buyer today, when we look at that, it helped us correctly forecast the housing bubble. It helped us correctly forecast the housing turnaround. And now we are looking at the next 3 to 4 years, a huge influx, a spike of first-time home buyers coming into the market, because looking back 30, 31, 32, 33 years ago, birth rates had an enormous spike. The result is going to be more people coming into the marketplace, and a tight inventory environment is going to be made even tighter, which supply and demand prices will go up. Now, Brian, people will say, well, hold on a second. Prices go up a lot, that means it has to crash back down. No. Let's look at California. California is a beautiful example of what the United States is about to witness. In California, home prices for the last 60 years pretty much have gone up with pretty significant averages of appreciation. And people say, well, it's not affordable in California. So expensive, not affordable. Well, here's how it works. In the United States, the home ownership rate is about 67%. In California, it's about 55%. So what does this teach us? It teaches us that there is, if enough people, if 55% represents enough people where it overwhelms the inventory, well, then prices will keep going up. Look, let me give you an example. If you have 100 people, right? 100 people, and out of the 100 people, 55 of them want to buy a home. But there's only 45 homes for sale, that means prices have to go up. If there were 70 homes for sale, 55 would mean prices would go down. So now we've got 67% home ownership, prices going up all over. But they can continue to go up so long as the population, even at a reduced percentage of those who buy, at that reduced percentage, is it still more than the homes available? In 2007, there were 3.7 million homes for sale. Today, there is 1 million homes for sale. Oh, and it's dropping. So about 3 million less homes. In 2007, you had 116 million households. Today, you have 128 million. So there's 12 million more households and 3 million fewer homes for sale. Is there any wonder why home values are going up? So these are things that we have to think about. Look, if we just strip it to the basics of supply and demand,
Right.
prices go up. If there's more demand than supply. If there's more supply than demand, prices go down.
And I love that. I love that.
I know. I'm like writing, and I couldn't write fast enough some of that stuff. So, for the first thing that like really jumped out at me at that, 40% right now, 40%. And keep in mind, this guy is like located in New Jersey, so he's doing national numbers here. 40% of the homes are being purchased over asking price right now. That's a ton.
I know people, and it's funny because, we have a lot of first-time buyers, and they're like, they see a list price and they think they're going to steal a house.
Yeah.
And that's just not even real right now. I mean, getting a seller to even pay closing costs is a tall
that's
order
not
right now.
happening
Seller
either.
concessions are almost heard of, unless, they're building it in the price and upping the price. And agents are going in now, well, let's just put it up with this and see what we get. I mean...
It is crazy. I actually was talking to a realtor last night, and she said that a house went on the market, and that her client was interested in, and it's just under $200,000 in our market here, which is unheard of right now. So under $200,000 in our market right now, and within the first couple of hours, there were 31 offers.
No way.
31 offers.
No way. Wow. Is
that crazy? That's crazy. But the other thing that I thought was really good about what Barry says here, was, and I like how they do this. So you want to know what's going to happen in the future, you look at the past, right? So you have to look at, and someone, it's so funny because I always say, who does all these surveys? Who does this? The surveys, a survey was taken, conducted, that doing this or that. So they're looking at the births. So, the average first-time home buyer right now is 33 years old, right? Or whatever. Yeah, so 33 years old is roughly. So you have to look at 33 years ago and stuff. So all these people. So now that is our number one buyer right now is our millennials, right? That's who's buying the houses right now, our 33-year-olds, thereabouts. Back in 2007, there were 116 million households, and there was 3.7 million homes for sale. That was just 2007.
Right.
That's definitely
recent history.
Recent history, exactly. Yeah. That's what I was looking for. Today, we've increased the number of households by 12 million. So 128 is what it is now, and there's only 1 million homes for sale.
Wow.
What does that tell you?
Wow. It's just, again...
Home prices are not going down.
They are not going
People
down.
People say, oh, what goes up must come down. No.
Now,
not always.
We may see some leveling off. Meaning we
Possibly.
don't see crazy rapid appreciation like we have been, but no, the demand is there, and as long as the demand is there, and the builders, the builders can't get supplies right now. I mean, people are paying $80 for a sheet of lumber.
I was going to say, unless you know of a way that all of a sudden more homes are going to come on the market, then no, home prices are not going down. Supply and demand. Like he said, if you have 55 people trying to buy 45 homes, prices are going to go up, and the sellers are going to get what they want for them.
And it's no different on the new construction of homes because
it's not happening, and it can't happen fast enough.
And I give the $80 for a sheet of lumber analogy. When is the price of lumber going to come down? When people stop buying it.
Right.
If they're willing to pay $80
there you go.
for that sheet of lumber, the price of lumber is going to be $80. If people stop buying it and stop building, well, maybe it'll go back down. But
Right.
it's just
But
all,
until that happens,
it's the cycles of economy.
and we
It's-
don't see that happening in the near future. Barry Habib doesn't see that happening in the near future. And again, this guy has really been dead on a lot of his predictions.
And a lot of people are like, well, I'll wait.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
wait.
we have those. I'll wait.
Yeah, let's wait. So let's talk about that. And we have another clip here with Barry we want to share with you on why it doesn't matter if you wait. You know, the prices of housing, yeah, is it going up? But based on where interest rates are today, maybe it's more affordable than you think. And so let's bring
And
Barry back on.
Before we bring the clip up, I just want to touch. I want to bring you up because he actually, after talking about the housing and stuff, he actually went into he went into like this rant and we cut the rant out to spare you from that, but basically what it is, but he does mention a little bit about it, so that's why I kind of want to give them a heads up. So basically,
nice.
Apparently CNBC,
You're so kind.
I know, well, I want them to know where he's coming from. So CNBC apparently dedicated an entire day to smashing the
Yes.
real estate world and saying what a bad economy it was and how everything's going to crash.
The
and all
sky
that
is
stuff.
falling, folks.
The sky is falling. They dedicated an entire day to doing it. And he goes on for like a good 20-minute rant about it. So this is coming off after that rant. And basically it's talking about how can realtors and lenders actually combat some of those headlines that are out there. And the thing is, we were talking about it too. The reason why the news media is so down on things like that is because bad news gets ratings.
Yep.
Bad news sells.
Gets viewers.
It gets viewers, and that's why they did it, so that they can get viewers.
A lot of you are on our email list. When we send out something that's negative, you guys,
Bad news.
You guys all open it.
They
You
used
all-
to actually
we all feed off of
in
it.
sales
It's human
courses.
nature.
In sales courses, they would tell us, start your email off with bad news, and
Yeah.
everybody will read it.
It-
So
We all want to hear bad news.
it's a train wreck, you know.
we
So
don't want to.
we want to watch
but
the train
we do.
wreck.
You get sucked in on disasters of the world. All right, so let's share this clip with you and get Barry's insight on this, and let's bring him back on.
The media. So what we want to take a look at here is what you heard just a week ago when they said median home price up 16%, hourly earnings up 4%. The analyst says unsustainable. Adam Data says we are miles away from affordability. So these are important headlines for us to understand and unpack, because our customer hears us like that. Our realtor hears us like that. Let's break it down. First of all, you don't look at median home price. As you remember in math class, median just means half the sales above, half the sales below. Well, if there's no inventory on the lower end, then guess what? You're going to have more sales on the higher end. It's going to skew that higher. Now, admittedly, appreciation is robust. It's 10%. So somebody says, okay, 10% appreciation, 4% hourly earnings go up, unsustainable. No, you don't look at hourly earnings. I know everybody does, but you shouldn't, because hourly earnings, I can work more hours or less hours. You need to look at weekly earnings, because that's more representative of what you're actually making. That's up 7%. Now, somebody might say, okay, Barry, the math doesn't work. 10% appreciation, only 7% earnings, unsustainable. You might want to write this down, what I'm about to tell you. A year ago, if you were going to buy a house and the monthly payment were $1,000 for just principal and interest, $1,000, your income would be about $5,000 a month, roughly. Okay. Now, you missed out on that because you listened to all the media talking heads say how bad the housing market was and how it was going to crash. Now, prices went up 10%. Interest rates are actually 0.25% cheaper as the last report today than they were a year ago, but let's just say they're the same. That means that monthly payment would have gone up 10%, representative of the 10% price increase, right? So instead of $1,000 a month, it is now $1,100 a month today. So it's costing you $100 a month more. You might say, well, it's less affordable, but we're not contemplating the increase to your income. If your income were to go up that same $100 a month, so instead of $5,000 a month, $5,100, you would now offset the effects of the appreciation, and you would still be the same relative level of affordability. But a $100 increase in income, that's $5,000, it's not 10%, it's 2%.
Yeah.
And that's what the media does not understand. A 2% rise in income can handle and offset a 10% rise in price. You don't need a 10% rise in income. So incomes are going up at 7% now. You can easily handle a 10% rise, a 20% rise, so long as interest rates don't get too crazy. Now, again, this requires some math and some understanding. This is the seventh most affordable, as crazy as they are, seventh most affordable market on record.
Jeez. I'm sure people don't understand that, but I love the fact, and I've said this about you for years, probably for a decade now, like the most underrated, under talked about talent for you is like you can take the most complex things and make them relatable to the man on the street using the analogies. Go back to the 100 people in the amount of homes analogy that you talked about. Go back to the analogy you talked about with $1,000 a month and the increase of pay. I love it, man. This is why we have you on, because so many people, it's so easy to lose them with technicals and demographics, but you're helping us understand it from a granular level. And I agree, like, yes, I understand housing is expensive and affordability, but like the market's telling us that we don't have a problem. Back to your analogies, it's still on fire. There's still a huge demand. So yes, is it more expensive? Okay, but the market's it's still sustainable. They're still making offers. There's still 40 offers on every home out there. So
if you can buy a home, and I know it's not easy, and I don't want to be insensitive, if you can buy a home and if you can evaluate it so you don't really overpay, the question that people need to know is pretty simple. I don't know if they understand it, but we need to teach it to them. If you're going to bid over asking price, what you need to know is, based upon forecasted appreciation in that zip code, when in the future, how long will it take till the value of that home meets and then eclipses how much you're paying for it? So you know that you're overpaying, but how long am I going to be in this upside down state for? If it's 3-6 months, okay. If it's 3 or 6 years, you really need to think about that. And the tool that we have at MBSI was the only one of its kind. It will tell you exactly how long the forecast is for you to then get to a level of recoupment of the overpayment and how much money you'll make in the future, which really helps people make better decisions. You're truly an advisor, and that's the whole point of it.
Right?
So
We've been actually saying that for years.
We actually have that calculator
We do.
where we can show people, okay, you're going to bid over asking price. When is that okay? Because people are like, I don't want to be upside down in a house. Mm-hmm. Do you really care if you're going to buy a house to flip it, which isn't happening in this market, unless it's a rehab and you're gutting it. But if you think you're buying a house to just flip it, it's probably not. You're paying over asking unless it's priced under. It doesn't make sense. But this calculator shows people how long before they're going to be even again. And if you're going to be even in a very short time based on the amount of appreciation in a certain market, doesn't it make sense to get the house you really want?
Right.
Because if you don't take it, somebody else will.
There's lines.
Yeah, if you only got to be there, if you're going to live in the house for at least 5 years, because the kids are going to be out of the house, and you're going to break even in 2 and be ahead.
Right.
Why not?
And that's something that people don't understand about, when the real estate crash did happen back in the mid-2000s there, what a lot of people didn't understand was, okay, maybe your house went underwater at that time, but as long as you kept on making your payment and you stayed there, guess what? That house is worth way more than that right now. It didn't matter.
Right.
It didn't matter. The difference between back then and today also, part of the real estate crash was caused by mortgage interest rates and all of those crazy programs where you just had to breathe on a mirror.
The 228s.
Yes. All you had to do was breathe on a mirror. Well, the interest rate was low for the first 2 years. Well, guess what? 2 years later, so that loan was given in 2005, 2006. 2 years later, we're talking 2007, 2008, the interest rate jumped a lot. Now people couldn't afford things.
Right.
So that's kind of like one of the things that participated in that. Those programs are gone, and every single person who is in a mortgage now had to qualify for it. So as long as you're still making an income and you're still paying your mortgage payment, even if and I don't believe there will be any kind of a crash or anything like that, but if it were to happen, as long as you keep on going, it'll eventually come back, because now all of those homes are worth twice as much as they were then.
Yes.
The people who did short sales.
Yes. And appraisers now are more diligent. Lenders aren't allowed to talk to appraisers.
Right.
You can't call your appraiser and say, hey, I need $200,000 on this one. Can you get it?
Yeah.
And they go, no. And then they call the next appraiser and say, hey, I need 200,000. Can you get it? You want the order? And they go, yeah, I'll get it for
Crazy
you.
things were happening back then in the
Yes.
mid 2000s, and they are not happening anymore.
No, it's
so it is
different.
not.
We do-
It is way different than
we
it
do
was
not,
back
and
then.
I don't want to pick on anybody, but we do not have a clerk that works at Walmart making minimum wage with 6 investment properties that can't afford it if somebody stops paying rent.
Right.
That was part of the problem. You had stated income programs. There's no stated income anymore.
Which
you know.
basically meant that they made it up. Oh yeah, I think I made $100,000 last year.
Yeah, and you were making minimum wage. No, not happening. It's a different world right there. I mean, you know, my opinion right now, if you can afford a house, you ought to buy one.
That's exactly what Barry just said too.
If you can afford a
it,
house, you ought to buy it and enjoy it, live in it, take the ride with the appreciation, because the same house you're looking at today probably isn't
Will go
gonna-
up.
Yeah, and it may not be as affordable next year or the following
Yes.
year. And you're going to be sitting on equity at some point that maybe you sell, you downsize, you rent out, whatever the case may be. So anyway, great information on all
So
that.
that's this week's info.
Yes, so
Hope
much
you
to
enjoyed
cover.
it. We should have kind of said he speaks fast. He's from New Jersey. He talks fast.
Yes, he does. So let's
So watch this again.
yeah, so let's talk about upcoming events. We have our Lunch and Learn coming up on May 11th. We're going to talk about should you waive home inspections. We're also going to talk about what the heck is going on with insurance premiums. That's on May 11th. It's at 11:30. Watch for the Zoom link. It's on our page. Join us. It's free to join. All real estate professionals are invited.
If you
Always-
can't find it, reach out to us.
it's on our Facebook
emails
page.
are right here.
Yeah, so hook up with that. You don't want to miss it. I mean, we're always here to help you grow your business. So, and we're here to help buyers and educate them on what's going on in the market.
That's right.
Also, don't forget West Pasco Business Association, WPBA.biz. Please go online. We are able to help people right now with their rent payments. If you are struggling with your rent payments due to COVID, any kind of financial hardship in that manner, we can actually assist you with your rent if you're behind in any way. We'll also be able to help you possibly with your utilities, as in water and or electric. So
And not only if you're behind in your rent, but also if you need some, future rent payments paid,
Yeah.
for the next few months.
go to
That could be fine as well.
WPBA.biz. Hey, thanks everybody. Please share this show.
Thanks for watching. We are Today and Every Day.
Moving forward.
See you next week.
Have a great week, everybody.